Hola muchachos, ¿qué tal? Buenos días, aquí tienen el horario para hoy, viernes el 24 de septiembre. You guys did have homework due for today. It were the guided workbook pages 27 and 28 of the guided side of the workbook. Pretty straightforward, this homework. I explained it to you in the video from the previous class, but everything that you have, or everything that you need to do this homework, you have in the workbook pages themselves. Talks about stem changing verbs have a spelling change in their stem in every form except for the nosotros form, as you can see that articulated here for the verb dormir. You guys can see the other types of stem changing verbs there: E to IE, O to UE, E to I, and U to UE, and the verbs that follow that. Part A, you guys are just identifying how the stem changes. For example, the E in empezar changes to IE. The O in poder changes to UE. The E in pedir changes to I. And again, that's articulated up above here. For part B, you guys are indicating the missing letters. As the verb is conjugated in the present tense, you want to refer to the verbs on part A. For example, this would be the verb jugar for number 1. So the missing letters are U, E. For number 2, this would be the verb servir. And the missing letters for that one would be just I. For part C, what it's doing is it's reminding you that verbs have a stem change in all forms except for the nosotros form. So what you're doing is you're beginning with the infinitive. As I showed everybody in class, if you're not quite sure what this verb is in the infinitive, you can use Spanish Dictionary. Recommend Spanish Dictionary or Word Reference. Word Reference is good, but I like Spanish Dictionary the best. And whatever verb you have a question on, for example, juegas, if you're not sure what that verb is in the infinitive, just type it into the search engine, and it'll provide you with the infinitive. And you can even go to conjugation here, and it'll provide you how to conjugate that verb in all the varying tenses. And we're focused on the present tense. You can see that they have that stem change highlighted. So you would do that for part C and conjugate the verb in the nosotros form. For example, this would be jugamos. Jugamos. Number 2 is the verb entender. Entender in the nosotros form would be entendemos. Part D is probably the hardest part, and it's very similar to exercise 14 that we did together in the textbook last class. You need to pick the verb that best fits, given the context, and then conjugate that verb accordingly, given the context. So that was your homework due for today. Again, was pages 27 and 28 of the guided side of the workbook. You guys can complete that in your notebook. You know how you would fill in the blanks for each of those sections and submit that in Canvas. You can amend a PDF. You have the PDF copy of the workbook there. Or you guys could take a picture of your workbook, ideally, and submit that into Canvas. We're going to go over the notes that we talked about on last class. Stem changing verbs, how they have a spelling change in their stem, and then what those spelling changes are for each of the different types of verbs. That's all articulated on page 27. We'll take another look at exercise 14 and review your answers, and then the majority of class we're going to spend playing a game, the dice roll game here, and I'll share with you how to play this game. The video here will walk you through it as well. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to create 10 sentences organically. And there are 4 parts to the creation of these 10 sentences. The first part is identifying your subject. And to pick your subject, we're going to do it at random by rolling a dice. You can use this online dice roller. I have it here. And based on the number that you roll, that'll determine your subject. If you roll a 1, the subject of your sentence is yo. If you roll a 4, the subject of your sentence is nosotros. If you roll a 6, it's ustedes, etc. So you're going to roll the dice, and based on the number that you get, that'll be your subject. Roll the die a second time, and that'll choose your verb. And you can see we have all stem-changing verbs here. So step 1, identify your subject. Step 2, identify the verb. Step 3, conjugate the verb accordingly, like what we've been doing in our other practice activities. So for example, if I rolled a 2 for the first one, that would be the to form. And then if I rolled a 6, that's the verb preferir. Step 3 would be to conjugate preferir in the to form, and I would get prefieres. The final step, put it in a sentence. It can be really short, or it can be more compound or complex. Don't worry about the sentence being perfect. You're not being graded on accuracy. You're being graded on effort. Come up with 10 of these, right? And lay out step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. So, to, preferir, prefieres, and then step 4, tú prefieres la educación física o la clase de arte. It could be a question or any other kind of statement. You do not need to translate your sentences into English. And then if you're using the worksheet as a reference, to kind of lay all these out, you can do that. Don't use the list that's on the worksheet. Use the list that's in Canvas instead, because the ones that are in Canvas are stem-changing verbs, whereas the ones on the worksheet are not. So, sorry for the confusion, but use this list instead. And that is your homework for next class. If you don't finish those 10 sentences, make sure to finish by the next time we see each other. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Hasta luego. Ciao.